Good afternoon. I'm Franklin Salata, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Case Western Reserve University. We'd like to welcome our faculty, staff, students, and friends. We are here today to dedicate a new space which enables the work for this Center of Ethics, which will begin and renew a relationship that extends over 20 years and crosses over 6,000 miles. With us here today, I am honored to welcome Dr. Kazuo Inamori. Dr. Inamori. Dr. Inamori is joined by his colleagues, Mr. Toyomi Inamori, Mr. Mikio Okuno, Mr. Kazumasa Yumemura, and Mr. Kayahiko Kigoshi. As I mentioned, it was over 20 years ago that Dr. Inamori first visited Case Western Reserve University and established the Kyocera Chair in Ceramics for Professor Arthur Hoyer. This relationship planted the seed for a very long-standing relationship that we are so fortunate has continued to this day. It has been one of sharing of mutual interest and efforts and shared leadership. I would like to thank Dr. Inamori for his generous support of our university and our shared friendship in this pursuit of excellence. For those of you who may recall what this space looked like before, let me just say we have created a very special place. I'd like to take a moment to applaud the design and construction crew for the transformation of this space. And with us today we have Charlie Belson and Ryan McNutt from the architectural firm of Ewing Cole. Charlie? Ryan? We also have representatives from Maris Brothers who did the construction. Do we have any representatives from Maris? Well, let's give them a round of applause anyway. And certainly our university architect, Margaret Carney. And the project manager on the project, William Tarka. As many of you know, I have recently had the pleasure and the responsibility of being the co-chair for our presidential search. This presidential search committee was comprised of alumni, trustees, faculty, and one student representative. It was our unanimous decision in December of last year to recommend that Barbara Snyder, Provost and University Vice President of Ohio State University, be named as the next president of Case Western Reserve University. Barbara officially begins her presidency on July the 1st, but even though she does have a day job in Columbus, we have had the pleasure of having Barbara with us a number of days each month, and I would like to thank Barbara for joining us on this special day. Would we please welcome Barbara Snyder, President-elect of Case Western Reserve University.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you all for the warm welcome. And thank you, Dr. Inamori, for your support for Case Western Reserve University. I look forward to our continued relationship and our shared commitment to ethics and excellence. Since the announcement of my presidency in December, I've had the opportunity to return to Cleveland to meet with friends and supporters of the university. So I am honored that Dr. Inamori traveled so far to attend this very special event, which is the first of many I hope to share. I believe in the university's strong commitment to ethics and ethical issues in all areas of study. In fact, part of the convocation ceremony, which will take place in August when I am installed as the next president, will be a symposium led by the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence. I invite everyone here to attend and participate in that event and to engage in the dialogue on ethics that goes on every day here on the campus of Case Western Reserve University. I am very grateful to Dr. Greg Eastwood, who has provided valuable leadership and dedication as interim president over this last year. His commitment to the university is really unsurpassed. So it is with sincere joy and great pride that I introduce Dr. Eastwood, not only as the interim president of Case Western Reserve University, but also, starting today, as the director of the Inamori Center for Ethics and Excellence. I know he will pursue his new role with the same enthusiasm and spirit with which he has served us in the last year and has worked so hard to strengthen the university. It is an honor to present him to you today. Greg.
Well, it is true that I'm interested in ethics, and I had planned to spend actually the next 6 months here on campus with Dr. Stuart Youngner. And Stuart, where are you? Oh, there you are. In his department. I still will do that part-time, but I'm really looking forward very much to being the director of the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence. As I've learned more about the Center for Ethics and Excellence, and so I've read Dr. Inamori's writings, and also as I've listened to him speak on the several occasions that I have had the privilege of being with him over the past year or so, I've come to understand better his philosophy and worldview, and I'm really excited about this opportunity to help create a unique and powerful center that has the potential of affecting the thinking and behavior not only on this campus, but around this community and indeed around the world. So I hope you can detect my enthusiasm for this. I'm very excited about doing this. As my first act as director, I have the privilege of introducing today's speaker, Dr. David Abshire. Dr. Abshire is president of the Center for the Study of the Presidency. He also is president of the Richard Lounsbury Foundation and was the co-founder and head of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He did that until 1999. His numerous positions in government have included Assistant Secretary of State for Congressional Relations, NATO Ambassador, and Special Counselor to the President with cabinet rank. Dr. Abshire is a prolific writer. He is the author of 6 books, the most recent titled Saving the Reagan Presidency, Trust is the Coin of the Realm. Dr. Abshire and Dr. Inamori have worked together and have shared a close friendship for many years. We here at Case find Dr. Abshire's role in our nation and his interest in internationalization a fitting beginning to our own center here. Please join me in welcoming Dr. David Abshire.
It's truly a great honor for me to be here today. Dr. Inamori, Dr. Frank Linsala, President Greg Eastwood, President-elect Barbara Snyder. I'm deeply honored to keynote this dedication of the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence at Case Western University. Now, I came to love Cleveland for the 6 or 7 years I served on the BP advisory board here. I think it was a great mistake for them to move out. Gotten some trouble since. With that move, though, if there's a gap, it's been more than filled by the dynamism of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic, 2 institutions that are now growing worldwide. And reaching out globally, as this new Inamori Center is dedicated to do, and its very name and its establishment by a truly great Japanese leader, a great global leader. So we're gathered here to celebrate a magnificent gift by a humble man. I know him well. I first got to know him in the 1980s when I persuaded him to be a member of the International Counselors Group we put together at the Center for Strategic International Studies chaired by the perhaps not so humble Henry Kissinger, but a very brilliant man, as he will tell you. Dr. Inamori soon inspired, don't tell that to Henry, he's a good friend. Dr. Inamori soon inspired a major report on U.S.-Japanese relations chaired by former President George H.W. Bush and former Prime Minister Nakasone. Later, one beautiful day in Kyoto, looking at temples, we developed the vision of the Abshire Inamori Leadership Academy at CSIS. He and I also led a major conference in Tokyo on transformational leadership in 2001, attended by 40 members of the Diet and broadcast and televised across Japan. Perhaps Dr. Inamori has done more to foster future generations of strong character-based leaders than anyone in his generation. And now, with this gift to Case Western, he's extended that legacy. There's no denying it. In education and in business, the business of the world ethics is in. In this country, we had a devastating spate of corporate failures in our country, as we've had presidential failures, over the past few years. And we're beginning to realize with a new sense of moment the importance of fortifying young people for the character challenges that they will face. But even as ethics comes back to the fore, Dr. Inamori remains a unique voice, a man of character with a clear, deep perspective and a truly humble capacity to think big. The Inamori Center's noble mission is to infuse young future leaders with grounding and understanding in ethics that is truly international, fit for our global age. In this spirit of inclusiveness, I will offer some words, not only on my good friend Dr. Inamori, but on two other great CEOs. The first is a longtime Ohio resident, John Pepper, the former CEO of Procter & Gamble. The other is a bit more curious choice, one informed by the work of my current organization, the Center for the Study of the Presidency. I'm speaking of George Washington himself. I once was asked to give a lecture on George Washington as a CEO before the Federal Executive Institute, which schools our best civil servants in the art of leadership. At first I was dubious. George Washington, general, president, but as a CEO? But on closer look at the father of our nation, the clearer it becomes that he showed the qualities of an exceptional CEO twice in his career. First, as manager of the Mount Vernon Estates, and second, as Chief Executive Officer of the United States. After a short career in the British colonial army, young Washington returned to Mount Vernon in 1759. He married well, that never hurts, a rich widow from Williamsburg, which enabled him to greatly extend his holdings. In Northern Virginia at that time was home to numerous big plantations. Almost all of them were losing money. But the CEO of this plantation, young Washington, made it an exception. Keeping a close eye on his income and cost, he soon discovered that the growing exclusive tobacco, that was the custom of the region, did not pay. Those taxes were exorbitant, and the British traders who sold their crops in London charged unduly low prices. He started a fish farm on the Potomac for entrance. With new wares, he expanded into new markets, trading fish, wheat, and flour in the West Indies. He also was a progressive and innovative farmer and experimented with crop rotation and fertilizer. He developed a brewery. The planter's life was that of a gentleman, but Washington wasn't just a gentleman. How appropriate that the founding father of an enterprising nation would himself be an entrepreneur with an interest in excellence. Now, I'll grant you, this Washington cost-cutting, innovating CEO is not a Washington you hear much about. It's his character, his ethical rectitude in great and uncertain times, which earned Washington his place in history. From an early age, Washington was rather obsessed with perfecting, not just bettering, but perfecting his character. When he was still a teenager, he put together a book on civility that was filled with reflections on the habits of character. These didn't always come easy with him. As a proud, impetuous officer at the age of 22 and a lieutenant colonel in the Army during the French and Indian Wars, he was eager for glory and led his troops too far into exposed territories. He was forced to surrender after a surprise attack at forced necessity and was written up in the Times of London as a disgrace to His Majesty's service. He learned from this mistake how to master and limit himself. Also, with his leadership training at Mount Vernon, this is what allowed him to become a great war leader and a great president. One example, shortly after the Revolution, King George III of England sat in a portrait by the painter Jonathan Trumbull. Trumbull had just returned from America. The king asked him what Washington would do now that the colonies had won independence. To the king's astonishment, Trumbull responded, "Go back to his farm." "If he does that," retorted the king, who had never heard one giving up power in Europe, the king said, "He'll be the greatest man in the world." I think he was at that time. And like the Roman consul Cincinnatus, he walked away from power back to his farm and his private existence. It did not take long for his country to call him again, first to convene the Constitutional Convention and later, 1789, to serve as president. There again, he set an example by turning down pay and refusing a third term, though many wanted him to take it. Washington displayed what I've come to see as two pillars of leadership. The first is built upon the ingredients of excellence, creativity, competence, and innovation, the ability to inspire others, to organize a team of surrogates with inclusive leadership. The second is built on the ingredients of trust, a strong character and ethical sense, a knowledge of the good, a love of the good, and the eagerness to do well. Washington, as we've seen, had both these attributes. In the remainder of this speech, I want to address two other leaders, one American and another Japanese, both of whom also had these characteristics, but who had them in different ways. The differences between them and Washington, as much as the similarities between them, I think, are quite relevant to the goals of the Inamori Center. John Pepper came to Cincinnati, a town named for the Roman citizen soldier whom Washington emulated in 1863 to work for Procter & Gamble. At his first interview, he knew the company was for him. I first got to know John when I joined the Procter & Gamble board in 1987. There I learned how P&G works to instill in all of its employees worldwide the values of honesty and integrity. John went on to become the CEO and chairman of the company, leading some record-setting years early in the 1990s when P&G expanded into Eastern Europe and the Chinese markets with great success. But while he was a relatively young man, Pepper decided to give another in the company the opportunity to lead. When that didn't work out, he came back, like George Washington came back from his farm. Pepper made it his mission, however, to find a perfect CEO, not to stay on himself. Yes, he found him in A.G. Lafley, who was on the cover of Fortune recently as one of the two most American admired CEOs. I've always called John, as I would call Washington, a great servant leader. Behind his back, some of him did one better, called him St. John Pepper. Not long ago, John, like Dr. Inamori, was to reflect on the example of such in his organization in a book. There he draws attention to, quote, what I regard as one of the most significant statements ever made in the Procter & Gamble history by William Cooper Procter, a gritty Midwesterner, an early age in 1890. Describing, quote, a spiritual inheritance on our company. It was founded in the 1830s. He referred to three qualities: hard work, fair dealings, and what he termed our affectionate dealings one with another. Pepper hit the nail on the head when he writes, no one could have been surprised to hear the phrase hard work and fair dealings, but affectionate dealings one with another? That surely was unexpected. It was important then, Pepper said. It is even more important now. Since leaving Procter & Gamble, John has gone to serve as the CEO and organizer of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, a museum devoted to the Underground Railroad in Cincinnati, by which African Americans in the South escaped slavery. And in January, Walt Disney called him back to service again, and surely not for the first time, as chairman of their board. Affectionate dealings with one another. These words gesture at the Kyocera philosophy, but don't do it justice. Dr. Inamori's people-centered philosophy of management can provide a guide for us all. So can his personal example. Dr. Inamori founded Kyocera when he was 27 years old, with a loan and a line of credit secured by a friend who put up his house as collateral. While other Japanese ceramic companies, the firms that manufactured the insulators and for electronic devices like microchips, centered on emerging the Japan market, Inamori looked abroad to the U.S. In a relatively short period of time, he built a world-class company known for its quality standards and quality culture. Later, he founded a long-distance telephone company, DDI, simply to challenge the monopoly of Japan's largest communications firm. This is selfless service. This is a servant leader. In 2003, Dr. Inamori was honored with the Carnegie Medal for philanthropy, along with Lord Sainsbury of Great Britain. With all due respect for the Sainsburys, their fortune, and their record of giving, they have been generations in the making. Dr. Inamori began Kyocera in 1959. What a miracle. For George Washington, public service and private enterprise were two separate things. He left Mount Vernon to serve his country in Philadelphia and in Washington, and then returned. When he could, a model Cincinnatus. For Dr. Inamori, enterprise becomes a form of public service. Though he makes large philanthropic gifts, he sees that good is not something done on the side. Kyocera is committed to uplifting his employees and his company through fair, generous, and selfless service while becoming an industry leader. In this global age, the old dichotomies are blurring. Our statesmen emulate CEOs, and our CEOs have begun to see the necessity of serving their employees and communities they support and enrich across the globe. Dr. Inamori and I strongly believe that a new education is needed for the new age, and there is a need to prepare leaders worldwide for ethical challenges they will face as they mature and enter the global economy. At my Center for the Study of the Presidency, we are working with partners in the Congress and the media to establish a foundation for international understanding, an institution that will make grants to support media productions that promote respect, shared learning, and ethical discourse across borders and cultures. We'd like this foundation to help produce a global cyber academy that will allow young people from around the world to go online to explore ethics in real-life situations. They could obtain a certificate upon graduation which would attest to their training to employees in a global business world filled with potential corruption. Even positive video gaming could be used in the curriculum. In his book, For People and for Profit, Dr. Inamori points to the wise words of Yukishi Fukuzawa, one of the founding fathers of modern Japan. Like Washington, he was a founding father of a nation. During the Meiji era, Japan went through a period of social and economic revolution, more dramatic than we have experienced in America. Leaders of a rising generation, like Fukuzawa, were sent abroad to study Western business and society. They sought to bring back the best of the world and to adapt it to the needs of their home country. When Fukuzawa returned, he wrote about the type of man who should be a leader of industry, and I quote, "Take the deep thoughts of the philosopher and the samurai's deep integrity. Add to these the talents of a government official. Only then will you have a leader of industry," close quote. Fukuzawa's age of industry may be over, may seem even closer to George Washington's age than to our own. But his insights into character need to lead in business a compound of competence and ethics and talent and excellence. This remains true today as ever. It's character that Dr. Inamori embodies. That character is now incorporated into the Inamori Center at Case Western. Congratulations to us all.
Thank you, Dr. Abshire. We aspire to fulfill what you've described as well as what Dr. Inamori has envisioned. I think I'd like to ask Dr. Inamori now to step to the podium and receive some gifts. Dr. Inamori, during the signing of the agreement with you 2 years ago, April 2005, the agreement between you and us, you said, I quote, "Before we use such highly developed scientific technologies, a great caution must be taken against our inquisitive and insatiable desires. because one wrong move in the use of such powerful technologies might lead us to the brink of catastrophe. Therefore, lofty guiding criteria are needed. You said further, these criteria are what I call ethics. Only after these lofty ethics are well established and shared widely with others will we be able to control our highly developed sciences so that they evolve for the true happiness and prosperity of humankind. We join you in this concern for the well-being of humanity, and we accept this great responsibility of working together with people from around the world to explore these issues and advance our understanding of ethics and what you have called guiding criteria for the people of the world. I am honored on behalf of the Case Western Reserve University community, many of whom are here, and our Board of Trustees, to present you with this plaque, which commemorates today's dedication of the Inamori Center and is a symbol of our shared experience and commitment to ethics. In addition, I have a special citation from our Ohio delegation and our own representative, Stephanie Tubbs-Jones, and I'll read it. Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition presented to Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence on behalf of the United States Congress and the 11th Congressional District of Ohio. It is my honor to congratulate you, Case Western Reserve University, developing the International Center for Ethics and Excellence. This new center is dedicated to exploring ethical issues from a global perspective, to nurturing international awareness and understanding of our common humanity through the study, teaching, and practice of ethics, and to the pursuit of excellence in all human endeavors. This innovative program will help our community in understanding our current global situation. I applaud Case Western Reserve University for their commitment, devotion, time, and talents to this collaboration. I wish you continued success in building upon this model program. Signed, Stephanie Tubbs-Jones, Member of Congress, with the seal of the House of Representatives. As we close, I thought it would be fitting on this beautiful spring day, you feel free to look out, with the lovely plum and cherry trees outside our windows here, from which the blossoms have just fallen. A few days ago, they would have still been on the trees, to share some haiku poems. Haiku, as you no doubt know, is a poetic form from ancient Japan. Springtime and the precious blossoms of flowers and trees are especially valued, both for their beauty and also for their ephemeral nature, and they represent the sentiment that we each must appreciate every moment and cherish the simple things in life. Now, I actually have written some haiku, but I'm not going to say anything. Rather, I've chosen 3 short haiku poems attributed to Matsu Basho, who lived 1644 to 1694. And traditional haiku evokes an image and a feeling within just a few short phrases, and some are whimsical, maybe even a little amusing to American ears in translation. Some are beautiful and thoughtful. Listen to these 3 separate poems of Matsu Basho. As for the hibiscus on the roadside, my horse ate it. From all these trees, in the salads, in the soup, everywhere, cherry blossoms fall. More than ever, I want to see in these blossoms at dawn the God's face. More than ever, I want to see in these blossoms at dawn the God's face. Dr. Inamori, I seek to share and carry out your vision. May the seeds that are planted here in this International Center for Ethics and Excellence grow and blossom, and may the blossoms fall everywhere around the globe for the betterment of humankind, reflecting the God's face. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for helping us celebrate the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence, and I welcome you to join us in further discourse and in celebration. Thank you.